Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. I'm going to do the Just for Today in a meditation with you for January the 24th. Hope you're doing well. Excited to spend this time with you. The title of today's meditation is From Isolation to Connection. Our disease isolated us, hostile, resentful, self-centered, and self-seeking. We cut ourselves off from the outside world. That comes from the basic text, page 4. Addiction is an isolating disease, closing us off from society, family, and self. We hid, we lied, we scorned the lives we saw others living, surely beyond our grasp. Worst of all, we told ourselves there was nothing wrong with us, even though we knew we were desperately ill. Our connection with the world and with reality itself was severed. Our lives lost meaning, and we withdrew further and further from reality. The NA program is designed especially for people like us. It helps reconnect us to the life we were meant to live, drawing us out of our isolation. We stop lying to ourselves about our condition. We admit our powerlessness and the unmanageability of our lives. We develop faith that our lives can improve, that recovery is possible, and that happiness is not permanently beyond our grasp. We get honest, we stop hiding, we show up and tell the truth, no matter what. And as we do, we establish the ties that connect our individual lives to the larger life around us. We addicts need not live lives of isolation. The 12 steps can restore our connection to life and living if we work them. Just for today, I am a part of the life around me. I will practice my program to strengthen my connection to my world. Let me repeat that. I am a part of the life around me. I will practice my program to strengthen my connection to my world. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. What a beautiful meditation here that we're talking about. We're talking about from isolation to connection. And when we think about our disease of addiction, and I'm assuming that most people have had this experience, there were some fun times, the partying, the music, playing cards, 359, dominoes, dancing, singing, karaoke, sex. And then at some point in time, the other side, the ugly side of the disease of addiction, actively using, stepped in. And maybe it didn't really take any time. Maybe our evenings hanging out and using and stuff were mixed with both. But for some reason, we thought the fun was outweighing the bad. And we continued to use. At least I know I did. But the problem with that was that when the bad would hit, I had a public face. So when the bad would hit, I would have to start finagling and lying and trying to make it make sense to my coworkers, what they were seeing and hearing. And I could not do that. I at least couldn't show up to work without at least having something in my coffee straw. Something. I had to put something in my coffee just so I could go show my face at work. And I found that my need to use increased, the awful circumstances increased. And it got me to the point where the thought of hanging out with people was a passing thought. why would I want to hang out with you and I'm gonna end up having to fight, or something is gonna jump off that is gonna follow me the whole next day and for the whole next year? I mean, it just made sense to use alone. To me, it made sense to use alone. I wasn't desperate, like I was begging somebody to give me something to use. I brought what I wanted to use, and so for many of us, we could afford to be hostile and resentful and self-centered and isolated and self-seeking. We could cut ourselves off from the world. And for those of us that had to use and depend on being able to run a game on somebody, we tolerated people as long as we had to until we got that next one. And then we were done with them. I can't tell you how many brothers I've talked to, and women, but mostly brothers, that I've talked to that will tell you in an instant, I just use her for such and such. I need her car, or I need such and such. Use it. I only deal with her because of such and such. I'm not in love with her. You know how many times we've been in our disease of addiction and just use people to get what we wanted? Yeah. I'm not in love with her. I need a place to sleep. I'm homeless. I don't want that man. But with him, I got a place to come to, high or not. So we use people, meaning that we fellowshipped with others. We were social. We developed some sort of level of social graces as a part of the game, as a part of our next one. But at some point in time, even they got fed up with us. And so quite often, it's not by choice that we end up isolated. It's not necessarily always by choice, but eventually, whether we chose it or not, it ends up being the case. We're intolerable as using addicts. The world don't want to be connected to using addicts. They've criminalized the disease of addiction. And for most of us, that is our story. That is our story. And now, here we come into Narcotics Anonymous, and the first group of people we learn how to engage with are other recovering people, other addicts. Now, who would have thought that would happen? And somehow, by being in the company of other recovering individuals, in connection with other recovering individuals, the lens of deception and isolation, self-degradation, the lens of that begins to become clear. The scales of isolation begin to break off. All of a sudden, our ears become unclogged and we start to hear the sound of hope by just being in the rooms with other recovering people. We have been given a great gift. We've been given the gift of hope, honesty, integrity, self-esteem, fellowship. Those are just a few of the things that we've gotten as a result of being here. But if I just stop at the fact that we've been given a choice, that in itself carries so much weight within it. We have choices today. We can show up in very uncomfortable circumstances and choose to do the right thing, choose to tell the truth, choose to listen, choose to be empathetic, choose to reframe our thinking cognitively and be positive rather than pessimistic. We get to make choices today. And when it gets to be too much, we get to choose to back away and take some self-care time. Now, we talk about that no man may ever die, no addict may ever die from the horrors of addiction. We talk about that. But a lot of times we just think about the physical death, that no addict may die from the horrors of addiction. The horrors of addiction go way, I don't want to say way beyond, because death seems pretty final, right? But there's other things along the way. Let's just put it like that. There's other things along the way when we're talking about the horrors of addiction. Losing family, losing cars, losing homes, losing self-esteem, losing the faith of others in us, losing positions, jobs, material things, losing hard work. I know a few nurses that were licensed until they started stealing morphine, switching the vials up with stuff so that they could use the drug for themselves, and they lost their license. So education, losing the fruit of higher education because of the disease of addiction. So there's other horrors of addiction that we suffer from that lead up to or also include physical death. We have a choice today to stop right now and make a different choice. And it's so empowering, right? It's so empowering. I know I sound all excited and like I'm doing great and stuff like that, but the last 24, 48 hours, I have really suffered in my body. And it's off of the Iowa trip, right? Just coming off of the Iowa trip and my resistance being low. And so I know it sounds like I'm excited, right? That I'm feeling great. I haven't eaten over a day, right? So what's the point? For those of you I might be losing, someone wrote me, you kind of lost me there with the swim story, but I followed you. I stayed on, right? So for some of you that I might be losing, what's the point? The point is that even in our dark times, we have a choice on how we're going to come through to others, right? How we're going to interact with each other. I have a choice about this podcast. I have a choice about the energy that I bring to it, regardless to my day-to-day circumstances. This is a huge piece of the joy in my life, and I choose to participate in it. It's a choice. That's one of the beautiful gifts that we have that allows me and allows you to be connected to living today. I'm a part of the life around me, and I practice my program to strengthen my connection to the world, which includes you. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Have a beautiful day on purpose.